Hey, what's up, guys? The Penguin here, back with another video. And today, we're checking out some reviews of Dandadan. Dandadan, probably the biggest show of fall 2024. I gotta think of it to think of a bigger one. ReZero's been big, but I feel like ReZero has found its fan base. It's gonna be hard to get new people into ReZero at season 3. So that's probably just returning viewers. Although I think, go watch ReZero. Bleach is big, always big. What else came out? Dragon Ball Daima, but Blue Box. I'm enjoying Blue Box. There's some good stuff this season, but I think Dandadan is probably the breakout hit of fall 2024. Hit, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how far it's gone beyond just the anime fan base. I don't think it's gone mainstream yet, but I think it's like if any show we're going to, I think it's gonna be Dandadan. It's on the cusp. That being said, though, not everyone enjoys it. I enjoy it, disclaimer, but not everyone enjoys it. So we're going to check out some reviews on My Anime List, not sponsored. You know, the site is what it is, but people always have interesting things to say on here. So we're going to check out just a couple reviews and see what people are saying about Dandadan. And disclaimer, this is recorded before the final episode. I'm recording this right before episode 12. I think this is airing in like 2 or 3 days when I'm recording this. So I can't say for sure how the season's going to end. I'm not a manga reader. Please don't spoil for me. But just based on up until episode 11, those are the opinions I can give. And those are the opinions I'm going to be reading about. Okay, let's get into it. The first review is from Akushi2477, who says, OVERRATED, overrated. It only gets popular because other good animes in the season were ReZero, Bleach, Danmachi. People had to watch 50 or over 100 episodes to get them, but this one was new and somehow good. The first 3 episodes made me continue, but 4 was like the ending with nothing gained. I didn't learn something, I didn't see any good fighting scenes. While I had the genre, action, and his genres, I had to keep watching on a nerd loser who overreacts to stuff. Honestly, I didn't like its story, its name, its characters, its animation style, its opening and music and animation. And I don't like people who like this anime, people who like this review, people who like likes. And if anyone gets mad at me, I will eat his banana and he will get a curse. Pause. But reviewers rating 6. Okay, well, clearly you can tell this person is not a fan. They only watched up to episode 4. If you see, it's preliminary 4 out of 12 episodes. So didn't get that far in the show. I'm guessing they dropped it after this. Although, based on this review, you would think the rating would be like 2 or 3. But they gave it a 6. And they didn't like anything. They pretty much like nothing in the show. Didn't like the story, characters, animation, music, nothing. Then what are you watching this for? Why did you give it a 6? I think some people don't really understand the rating scale. 5 is meant to be like average. So I don't understand how this is getting a 6 based on what you said. But I do think there's a fair point. I kind of was saying it in the intro. There's a fair point that this is probably one of the bigger shows because it's probably the biggest new show. A lot of these other shows are quite long running and there's a lot of investment to get into them at this point. But Dandadan is a fresh new show. The manga has some hype behind it. So I can understand why this became the biggest show of the season. I will say though, you don't like people who like the anime. I guess this person just trolling. But I don't have much to say about this review. Really, they didn't really say anything. Nothing really made sense. Didn't see any good fighting scenes. Come on, Dandadan has some great action scenes. This is kind of a bit disingenuous in my opinion. It's fair enough you don't like the animation style. That's your opinion. But no good fighting scenes is a bit crazy. Didn't like the music. I thought the opening was a banger, but to each their own. I think opening, a lot of people might find that song to be a banger, but to each their own. But we're gonna move on to the next one. This one's not really saying much, and the rating doesn't even match the description. So on to the next one. Now we got a review by Mark PHP, who has a I Show Speed profile picture. Did not see that one coming, but fair enough. And this person only watched the first 5 episodes, so keep that in mind while I read this review. Dandadan is one of the best-selling products of the fall 2024 season. Why am I calling it a product, you may ask? Well, it's because I can't recognize it as a story. While the show has many downsides, it does the things that matter nowadays incredibly good for the anime community to adore this. Things such as interesting characters, basic logic, events that don't just spawn there, and many other things are unnecessary. The story just doesn't make any sense, as it's just random villains wanting to kill the two main characters because they're just bad guys and that's their job. That's it. The characters that take part in the action are the following: two female main characters made for fan service, Degen Bait, and one regular guy that, through a miracle nobody could have foreseen, now has superpowers. Another thing that modern shows struggle with is permanent deaths. The question that is now in everyone's mind when the character is in trouble is, wow, is he dead? It's not, wow, is he dead? But, how will he escape this? Thus removing all attention. Another thing that makes the story absurd is that the protagonists, who are supposed to be human and thrown into are thrown into concrete walls at supersonic speeds, yet they beat the one-dimensional bad guy unscratched in the following 5 minutes. One purely subjective thing present in the show is the comedy, the corny, degenerate jokes that will make every dweeb die of laughter. Personally, I don't find anything funny in the show. Now let's talk about what the show does incredibly well, as specified in the introduction. The animation and the fighting choreography, to no one's surprise, are the thing that make this show from a nonsensical product to everyone's favorite. I know this review may seem emotionally driven and pretty short, but I can't find anything to praise or even talk about, or philosophy on the subject and cause. Have a good day. Any critique? Well, yeah, yapping. Reviewers rating 3. Okay, 5 episodes in. Okay, interesting. I'm this one I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at this one. I can see where they're coming from because this is only the first season. There's only so much you can say about a show, especially 5 episodes in. That's like this early on in the story. A lot of these shonen don't really give away their long-term plans this early on. Actually, I feel like a lot of them, from the manga perspective, don't even have a long-term plan this early on. Of course, some do, and some have a place they know they want to end up, but they know, especially with the state of Shonen Jump, you have to survive. It's all about survival at the beginning. Of course, I think the ones who have the best foundation end up surviving usually, but most of the time we know it's the ones who can really appeal to what people already like. There's always going to be a nature of that, and the biggest stuff that is going to feel a little familiar. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you to decide. I personally think it can go either way. It's really all about execution. I don't think you can write off a show immediately because it feels familiar, or love a show immediately. I guess you can love a show immediately because it feels familiar, but I think really it's about how is the show going to execute these things we know that they know how to do, and how is it going to slightly differentiate itself down the road. That's what I'm interested in. And Dandadan so far, I think it's doing a good job of setting itself up to be a mainstay in the magazine, which of course it is. But now it has almost 200 chapters, and now it's got a big anime as well. So we know that it's done well. But the real question is, how is it going to transition this into a long-term story? Because as of right now, it's still kind of joking around with the goals of, oh, let's get the banana back. Okay, now let's get the balls back. That's fun, and I think it seems like the second one is going to be a more long-term goal. But these things, there has to be more depth brought into it. And I think recently in the anime, actually, they started to hint that there's more to it with the aliens coming to Earth, wanting to come to Earth, but they're afraid of the occult. So that's like what's kind of been putting them off, and that's why they're going after the main characters. I think that's really interesting. I think that's something that in the early episodes, you can beg the question, why are they going after them? And this person says here, like, they're just bad guys and that's their job. But now it starts to build a layer, and then all you can hope is that there are going to be more layers as the story goes on. But so far, I've personally watched 5 episodes, so maybe I can see where they're coming from at that point. But at this point in the season, that it's almost over, I think it's starting to build some momentum. The tough part is there's only 12 episodes in this season. So will it get to that point by the time this next episode ends? I'm not sure. Maybe it'll set up something that makes you look forward to the second season a lot. either way, I'm really enjoying it. So I think it's also fine for some shows to just be fun. Not every show has to be some philosophical masterpiece for it to be a good show. That's just my opinion. But let's move on to the next one. Okay, the last one we're checking out is by Zomoko11222. And this person has watched 9 out of the 12 episodes. So, a more fair, hopefully comprehensive feeling of how the show went. The show's still not over. So you can't say they know all of it. I don't know all of it either, but this one should be more accurate to what we've seen so far, hopefully. Let's get into it. Dandadan is a product. It is fast food entertainment, and there's nothing wrong with that. What infuriates me is when people try to sell it for bigger than it is. There's nothing deep about Dandadan. The story is predictable. The characters are shallow. It's like a Marvel movie. Nothing wrong with that. I like some Marvel movies, but when I watch them, I know they are garbage. Dandadan is a guilty pleasure show carried by animation. It will only impress teenagers. Adults can enjoy it too, but as a popcorn time waster, what makes me disappointed is the lack of guts of the author. You can tell he wrote the story to be popular instead of writing a compelling narrative. I can't blame him. He needs to survive, and compelling stories is not what the mainstream wants. This is why garbage like Edgelord Joker and mediocre Avengers are exploding the box office. The author is smart and follows the law of the market. That is why I despise Dandadan. It is giving people what they want. It is not challenging them in any way. I hate when a story gives me what I want. This is why my favorite stories are stories that made me feel negative emotions, where the authors took risks. Dandadan took no risks and deserves no hatred or praise, just indifference. It will end up like Jujutsu Kaisen in a few years. Another project with hype forgotten now because that is all Dandadan is, anime from the assembly line. Next season, there's another anime from the same mode, Sakamoto Days, ready to replace it because there's nothing intriguing about these shows. They are consumed like McDonald's. Again, I eat McDonald's from time to time, but you won't see me tout it as a great food. Same as Dandadan. You can enjoy it, but stop the hyperbole with this mediocre show. Rating 5. Okay, interesting. Fast food entertainment. I feel like this one covers a lot of things we just talked about with the last one, but I think this one's a little more aware of. I can kind of read in my mind. I'm kind of more aware of what I was talking about in the last one with how the market works with the manga industry. You have to survive to an extent. I think they're being a bit harsh saying that it doesn't have legs though. Can I predict that Dandadan is going to be the next mainstream hit like Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, that kind of level? I don't know, but I mean, to me, it's better than Demon Slayer. Story-wise, so far, it's more interesting than Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not even going to compare it to Attack on Titan. Obviously, Jujutsu Kaisen animation's like ridiculous, but the first season, the story wasn't that crazy either. It really wasn't. It was only in the second season where it really took off in terms of just the battles were so crazy that it just had to take off. So I think it's a bit unfair to say this is it. This is going to be hype for the second, and then we're moving on to Sakamoto Days. Remember Sakamoto Days? I'm also looking forward to that show. I think that show can be good too. But give it a chance, man. It's not even over yet. And you said that after 9 episodes. You don't know how the second season's going to go, unless you're a manga reader and you know it just tails off or something. It could get even bigger. This is just the start, so we don't really know how big it can possibly get. I do think it's unfair, though, to say that the story isn't challenging people in any way. I'm not going to say it's the most innovative or groundbreaking thing ever, but the way they've been doing these backstories of the occult that they take down, or the aliens they take down, has been really well executed. Of course, we've seen quote-unquote villains get redeemed in the past, but it's all about how you execute it to me. That's really what it comes down to. And the acrobatic Silky backstory was just like, that was mesmerizing, like genuinely mesmerizing. The other one was good too. Turbo Granny was good too. Then the most recent one was the alien boxer dude that looks like the Kappa. That one's good too. But the way they executed that acrobatic, silky backstory. And I saw some comparisons to the manga. People said the manga was done well too, but this was another level. That's the kind of thing where, with the right studio and the right passion, and this is, I think, Science Saru, you can really elevate a show to another level. And I think the attention on something like how that episode was done, if they can continue pulling things out like that, not saying you have to copy and do it again, like the exact same thing, but if you continue to talk on people's emotions in that kind of way, especially with a show like this, which has such tonal whiplash intentionally. You're going from super funny scenes to super romantic scenes to super sad scenes to super devastating scenes, and we're action scenes. Like then we're going into the nerdy stuff. It's just jumping around. But if you can continue to make each of those elements feel strong enough in its own right, and then have the emotional foundation of something like an acrobatic silky scene, I think you got a real good formula to take off. I'm not saying it's going to be the biggest show of all time, but I think Dandadan's here to stay, honestly. Especially if Science Art continues with the passion that they're putting into this first season. It has a lot of potential. And you gave it a 5, despite this review. I guess this review 5 kind of makes sense. Maybe I would have thought you'd give it a 4, maybe, but that's fair enough. But I'm just curious how the season's gonna end. I'm curious to see. Surely it's gonna get greenlit for a second season. I'm curious to see where that goes. Hopefully that one's 24 episodes and not 12. I really think something like this needs, like Jujutsu Kaisen had like half a year where it was just popping off constantly. And I think that kind of momentum is really important for these shows to take off. But that's gonna be it for this video. Those are all the reviews I'm reading. I saw some other ones I was gonna talk about, but they're kind of all saying similar kind of stuff. You know, most of them just complaining about silly things, so I didn't really care about checking those out. But I think there were some interesting points brought up in these 3 reviews that we went over. And let me know what you think about Dandadan. Are you watching it? Are you gonna finish it? Did you drop it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? All these opinions, I want to know. I want to talk about it because this is a really big show this season. And I'm curious to see where people are feeling. I feel like I've seen some hype, but I've also seen, it kind of slow down at times. I've seen it trending on Twitter at times. It can be all over the place. So let me know what you think. Are these people just hating? I'm curious. But thanks for watching, especially if you made it this far. Like I said, let me know in the comments below all the things I talked about. I'm very curious. How are you feeling about Dandadan? But if you have even 5 seconds to spare, it'd really help if you like, subscribed, all that good stuff. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll be back next week, same time, new video. See ya.